Well, JD, thanks for making the journey.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it was a long journey. Yeah, the track.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about first, you are the CEO of Jane.
Co-CEO.
Yep. And I mean, honestly, I would say that the last time you and I talked, I mean, it was 2 years ago, and so much has happened in that time in every respect. So let's dive in first to your background in SEO, kind of starting there to onboarding with Jane when Jane was way smaller.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were in the same office building as we were. So can you, take us on the journey?
Yeah. So thinking back to 2004, that's when I got into SEO. That's the Wild West days of SEO back
Absolutely.
I mean, people were putting white text on white backgrounds, and it was very easy to rank for keywords, or relatively easy.
Black hat was where it was at.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And at the company that I was with, we were servicing small to medium businesses, and SEO was a new service that we had for them. And then a couple of years later, we got into social, but really my marketing roots are in SEO. And now with Jane, obviously we'll talk about this, but it's been foundational for Jane and evolving as SEO does. But you know, it's something that everyone, like we have an SEO at Jane, and something that we continue to practice and keep up on. But yeah, that's my background, is running SEO. We did SEO fulfillment, and then we moved to social media, and then I was working with the founder of Jane at the time. This is before he founded Jane, but he had actually hired me back in 2004 at this company. And after a few years, he left. And once he got Jane started, like we would meet up for lunch like every 3 months, just like, because we were, friends, our families are friends. And he told me about this side gig that he had called Very Jane at the time. It wasn't Jane. And I remember it had like 1,000 people on Facebook that had liked it, and I was like super stoked and impressed, like, dude, good job, that's freaking awesome. And then I kept like seeing it more and more, that it was kind of like blowing up. It was more than just like a small gig. And he sent me a text saying, hey, what would it take to get you to come over to Very Jane? And I was kind of like, dude, like, there's no benefits, like, can you afford this? Like, not like my salary was crazy or anything, but like I was super skeptical because it was a startup, like a pure startup, no office. He was actually working full time at a different job and just doing Very Jane nights and weekends. And he had hired our very first employee, Heidi. She was doing customer service. And we had his wife, the other co-founder, Megan. She was like looking on Etsy and trying to find sellers to like do deals on Jane, and they were doing like 1 to 2 deals a day. And so when I was asked by Mike, this was in June of 2011 or 12, 6 years ago. I went over to his house that night and I was like, tell me more, like this is a huge step for me and my family, like kind of just like jump ship and go to this startup, because obviously I said yes, and I immediately began working out of my basement. He was still working full-time at his job, and nobody had an office, and there was really just 4 of us, and we would just Skype all day, and for about 3 months, that's how it was. And then we got to the point where, because we put all the money back into the business. Mike and Megan, they bootstrapped the company. We've never taken any outside funding. And so when it got to the point where he's like, all right, now I can afford to put myself on payroll, he quit his job and joined us full time. And we got an executive suite up at Traverse Mountain. And it was 3 of us in a room, our CTO, who's now the co-CEO, Ryan Burton, me and Mike in an office. And it was pure startup, and it was awesome.
Yeah, how exciting is that?
It was scary and awesome.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah.
All the feels.
Honestly, like it wasn't scary, I guess. It was more fun. Like, this is, I don't know, we're seeing a lot of success early on, and obviously just 4 or 5 of us, like, we're able to see every action, like the impact that we're making, and it was just kind of just a wild time. It was awesome.
Now, before we go into kind of your foray into the CEO, the co-CEO, Jane, it's daily boutique deals, but it's the art of the flash sale.
Yeah.
which is an art.
Yeah, that's been our bread and butter since day one. And really this business model of this almost FOMO, there's this urgency, there's this like scarcity to the product. And so like if we're selling that blouse, you know, it's on for 3 days, we'll sneak peek it the day before, which gets like our audience like coming back, like what's going to be on Jane. And it's really just a surprise every day, like what's new, what's next. And that's that mentality that we kind of, that we're playing towards, is that the same way that people consume social media is they're going on Instagram and Pinterest and like what's new. It's a total discovery mindset as opposed to like a search-based mindset. And what's interesting is at Jane, like I think 5% of users actually use our search bar. They're coming to our site with no intention to buy any item in particular. It's to experience and discover. And you know, we rely on a lot of statistics, you know, we track like 50% of the people that came to Jane yesterday will come back today. Like it has that big of an addictive factor to it. And so we play off of that, and it's been, you know, very successful for us.
I can vouch for that because I think when we met 2 years ago, I was telling you about my mom. She's the one who told me about, right. And she would get the daily emails. And I think it was before you had the app. And it was just these daily deals. And like what she was buying were things that I never would she have identified as like,
oh, for sure,
before she went into that email. But it was just like, this is so cool. I didn't even know this existed in the marketplace, and it's a sweet deal. So not only would she buy one, but she would buy 5, 10 of everything.
So, the price point makes it so that it's very low risk. I mean, we call it shoputainment. It's just, you know, it's discovery-based shopping at its finest, which is like the exact opposite of what an Amazon or another marketplace is, where you go to Amazon because you need like a certain adapter for your cell phone or something. You don't go to Amazon like, what do they have today? That's exactly why you go to Jane, is what's on Jane. And it's so accessible, like with our app and everything. Like most people use our app and it's just scroll. And it's that same like behavior of just scrolling through, and we're, you know, tracking the impressions and how far deep they scroll down, and they get to the 1,000th deal and they're still scrolling and checking.
And the FOMO is it's gonna go away.
So
it's that urgency.
And there's like limited quantities sometimes, and so what's interesting is we launch our deals at midnight Mountain Time every night. We have a new like inventory changeover at midnight. And we see a spike in traffic at midnight. Like we see this jump, and it's been like that for 7 years. This jump at midnight of people just camping out, waiting to get those deals because they know like their size, their like the different option could be gone by the time they get it. And so, you know, we can see like where throughout the US they are. And so we have people like East Coast, that's 2 a.m. for them, camping out, waking up, or staying up or something. 2 a.m. we see people jumping on, buying. And then once our daily email, you mentioned our daily email, that's like our bread and butter since day one of getting people to our site. That huge wave of traffic in the morning, and then it kind of dips throughout the rest of the day. But in the morning, there's just this what's on Jane, and then rinse and repeat every day.
Well, and your path there, because I mean, you are so dialed. Like in our conversations that we've had, like you know your craft. You very specifically know Jane, but like the craft of the marketing aspect and definitely the technical SEO. I mean, what was it? Did you ever think that you would be a co-CEO of the company?
Oh, no. Even today, it's like, but what's interesting, and Ryan Burton, he was our CTO. We started the same month. And our founders, Mike and Megan, Mike, he was our CEO up until January of this past year. And he is now chairman of the board, and he's still very involved. He's the one that, I mean, Jane's vision and what Jane is and will become is 100% him. It's in his head. And it's been awesome to work with him throughout the years and kind of see that vision unfold and us like execute on that vision. But yeah, now assuming the role of CEO with Ryan, it's a totally different perspective and kind of looking at Jane from a different view. Obviously, marketing's my baby, and I was over operations for the first 4 years as well of Jane. So I've seen almost every part of Jane. Ryan, obviously on the technical side, we have 50 in-house developers and product members. But what we've done is we've kind of like divided up the business where I have marketing, merchandising, all the support teams, and then Ryan has all the dev, the tech, the IT, and finance. He also inherited HR, which is awesome for him. But anyway, how we're kind of looking at the business now, it's way more about the people and our employees and what drives them and how can we motivate them and set the vision for them and hold people accountable. And it's way more about culture than the day-to-day of, executing on campaigns. And we obviously have very talented people in place, and that's the best part about working at Jane is who we work with. Like, I pride ourselves in who we've hired, and I'm lucky to be a part of this awesome group. But I feel like that's a huge differentiator. Our company is that we hire people who are just, rock stars, and that really are just nice and are easy to get along with. We have a lot of fun at work, and a lot of times it doesn't feel like work, and it's just because of the individuals that we've hired. It's like, check your ego at the door, and it's way more of a familiar feel. Like we have a Jane family in like the truest sense. It's awesome.
That is so true. I worked with a few people, and like, how is everyone like a triple threat? Like, how is everyone so good? Plus also really good looking. Plus also like
so
all these things.
So it's interesting. Like, me and Ryan try to interview everybody. And in the early days, like for the first 4 years, we literally interviewed everybody. And so it's just because we were smaller, right? And we could. And still, it's like super important that we hire the right people. Like that book, Good to Great, it's like getting the right people on the bus.
Get them in the right seats.
Yeah, and they can move seats, and many people have. And I've moved seats 3 times at Jane. I got hired to do marketing, and I assumed operations, and now I'm doing something else. And a lot of people at Jane have done the same thing, and it's awesome. And we want to encourage people to evolve their careers at Jane. And, once they get to that point where a new opportunity comes knocking, at least they had an amazing ride. And we hope that they look back fondly on their time here at Jane.
Now, in terms of hiring people, that adage of you hire slow, fire fast, maybe give us some experiences where you knew like what you evaluate in terms of someone who's not a good fit, maybe after they've onboarded.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, really, you never know. You never fully know until you get somebody on. And it's just important that like we try to have a culture of transparency and accountability where, you're able to, but also of empowerment, where we want to give them the opportunity to succeed. And there have been times where it hasn't been successful and we need to part ways. But to your point, like fire fast, like the sooner for both parties, the better, right? Because they need to move on and we need to move on. It can be difficult, but at the same time, there needs to be that opportunity for them to, we obviously, they showed promise, we hired them for a reason, and, especially in certain positions, we hire because we don't know what we don't know, and we need to bring in outside influence. Like me, Mike, and Ryan's expertise and job history, like we've never done certain things, and so who are we to say like in certain positions like, yeah, we should do it that way? Like we need to bring in some outside help. And when it comes to like a culture fit, and if it's going to work, sometimes that just takes time. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out, but for the most part it does. And I think that and our interview process has evolved over time. Now, like 4 months ago, Ryan and we had this initiative to roll out core values in Jane. And now we're working to operationalize those, which includes hiring by our core values, firing by our core values, and really just setting that like precedent, like this is what you'll be getting into when you come to Jane. What's interesting is MX, they're 2 floors above us and 2 floors below us. Nate Gardner over there, he like introduced us to this idea of how they like came up with their values and how ingrained they are into their culture. And so we've spent a lot of time with him. It's been awesome just to see how they've done it and, trying to take what that processes and Janeify it to make it our own, it's still a work in progress for us. So really that's a lot of what me and Ryan focus on is that part of the culture of, and right now it's those values, it's setting them in stone and operationalizing them.
And they do a lot of heavy lifting. We talked to Rachel Hofstetter from Chatbooks, and she talked about the 5 core values that they have. It's 5 points of a star, and it really is like their North Star of hiring, firing, moving process and product and all the things. And in what she was saying and kind of what we talked about was it helps further identify the culture.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it defines it. It's foundational. And for us, establishing them 7 years after Jane was started was challenging because we wanted to involve as many people, like everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't a quick or easy process. It was actually very slow and sometimes painful in like the best way possible because we wanted to make sure like, hey, we're at 170 employees right now. For us to get 100 to 300 employees, which we will, we need to have this strong foundation and, because there's growing pains with having that many employees. And then once your business gets to a certain size, we need to have these things set in stone. And so far, it's been great.
That's true. Rand Fishkin, he either wrote about this or he had cited something where people within a company, they'll do an analysis and survey people. And if there's people that are just slightly off, what ends up happening is this.
Oh, for sure.
They're just slightly off on the trajectory where you think you're all going in the same direction where there's just a little bit of nuance to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for us right now, with those core values, it's, we did a poster campaign because we want people's buy-in and feedback and before we start commissioning statues and murals across our company, and then it's truly operationalizing them. How are these baked into one-on-ones? How are these baked into performance reviews? How are these peer reviews baked into year-end bonuses? It's foundational to so many different parts of everybody's job.
Can you speak a little bit to the process of identifying what Jane's core values are? Maybe what they had told you, how do you start asking those questions?
Yeah, we went through this exercise. I think it was 2 years ago, and again, it was a long process. It started at kind of the executive team, and we also looked around at other companies of how they did it. So again, how did MX come up with theirs? How did we looked at Bamboo, Lucid, a lot of different companies. So there's so many around here that have done a great job of implementing them and then marketing them internally and making them part of their culture and baking them into their business. And so again, it was just a lot of meetings and a lot of key people within keeping us banging that drum and keeping us on pace. HR big time. But once we when we went to the entire company, we had this exercise where we asked everybody list what makes an exemplary coworker to you. What attributes does somebody have that is just killing it? And so we took all of that feedback and then we tried to categorize them. And then from there, it's just whittling it down and refining it and wordsmithing it and then surveying people and then bringing focus groups in and stuff. And so it was quite the process, but we have 5 and we're bought in, we're sold, and we love them.
So now you're in a new office space. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful office space. Yeah. It has a barbershop?
It does.
In the office space, which I love.
I've never used it.
Have you not? Oh.
Well, I'm a bald man, so
okay.
I have no reason to even step foot into that.
Okay, and then, it's so beautiful, that big kitchen space and just the meeting areas. Yeah. Now, was that a risk, moving into the next space?
For me, yes. I'll openly admit that. And this just speaks to the vision that Mike and Megan have. For Mike, it was this, it was just very crystal clear. And at that time, we were in this building, 3rd floor.
Yeah.
And we were here for 6 months. And this was after we had moved out of, we'd moved out of that Traverse Mountain. Like we'd expanded into 5 executive suites at that Traverse place. So we had to like get our own space. So we got 5,000 feet here. And I remember when we were building it out, I was like, we are never going to fill this. Like, this is way too much. And thinking about like the rent, and I was like, this is just too much. And within like 6 months, me and Mike had like bunked up. We were sharing an office. Like people were just like there would be 6 people in this room, you know? And we had an Xbox room, which we were super stoked about. And after like 4 months, there was 4 developers in there. There was no Xbox. So when he's like, we need to get a whole floor. And we were working with Bivey here at the park and planning out the whole thing. And really like, it is a gorgeous office. And it all came from Mike and Megan, like the inspiration and Mike really that summer spending a ton of time basically general contracting the whole thing, like very involved. He has his degree in construction management from UVU, nice. So put it to work.
Yeah.
And really just made that office what it is. And we're actually expanding to the 4th floor now. And so weeds out, we're in, and we demoed the whole like section, and we're going through that whole process again of just trying to Janify that space. And it's I don't know, for me, like I give so many tours and I've been there, like I kind of am used to that, but it's very, I don't know, it definitely is like a differentiator when the whole purpose of it, Mike said, was to make Jane a home away from home, and it truly is. Like not like, I don't know, we like obviously like having food and everything for everybody, snacks, but just the comforts of it and just the aesthetics where it you know, we have a lounge that is like a true lounge, and you've been in it. And
nail polish just out hanging out. Yeah. And I remember the first time I toured it, I think you gave me the tour, and there were spaces that were not set up yet. Like you hadn't filled it. And I've been back in maybe the last 6 months, and it was like, clearly you were getting to capacity.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, it's completely done. And we even now that we know that we're expanding to the 4th floor, like some changes that we want to make to the 3rd floor as well. You know, it's always kind of just like this work in progress.
Bowling alley, you probably need something
there's a
like
shooting
that.
range. Yeah, there's a lot of things going
The
on.
Xbox room dedicated
we
to...
do have one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
The important things to keep people happy and morale high.
Yeah, but honestly, like, you know, walking around and seeing like pool table, ping pong, like that kind of stuff, like of course, like, and people have fun doing that. But I think that just the detail and to the extent that Mike and Megan went to like, even like the furnishings and stuff, it just makes everybody feel very welcomed. You know?
Absolutely.
It's a very like welcoming space.
Yeah. The care and consideration is obvious, plus it's aspirational.
Yeah.
Like I think I slowed us down on that tour because I was like, no, I need more photos because this is goals right now for me.
Yeah, but as we continued to like expand and now we're at capacity, like I remember we had a kids room and we had it like sound dampened and we had like toys and like that quickly turned into a photo studio just out of necessity because we needed that. But some things have stayed the same. We have a mother's lounge, mother's room. We have an activities room where we have yoga and some other workout stuff. I don't know. I don't use it, but just making sure that employees feel like, you know, they're comfortable and that they are welcome to Jane, you know, always.
So let's go back to starting out as marketing director and then COO. What was that transition like? Yeah,
so it was wearing both hats. And so with marketing director, now that was when it was me, Mike, and Ryan, marketing director. I could have given myself any title, but it was me doing marketing. It was a one-man show. I set up our first AdWords campaign, signed up for ShareASell. Like, it was just, you know, me wearing all the marketing hats. And I was fortunate enough to hire one of my good buddies from a previous job, Marcus Wicks. He's now our marketing director. And now I think we have like 23 on our marketing team. And we do everything in-house. Everything, app, acquisition, all paid, social, PR, influencer. And it's all just continues to evolve, you know. But me as marketing director, that was just me doing 100% marketing. And then with COO, it was taking over really the operations of our support teams, our merchandising teams, us being a two-sided marketplace, having to focus on acquiring sellers or acquiring customers, but also balancing the sellers that we have. We need to onboard new sellers. We need to, work with our existing seller base and train up sellers. And that's really part of the business that I didn't anticipate me loving so much was the fulfillment that I get of seeing our, sellers have success. And I think that as a marketplace, compared to like an Amazon or an eBay or something, like we truly want to see our sellers succeed. We've always said their success is our success, and we dedicate a lot of time and resources and money to helping them because we truly consider them as partners. And so part of COO is, over the merchandising and the seller, development and management side of the business as well.
And you said that starting out you were, 2 sellers a day, and now
2 deals a day, yeah.
Yeah, 2 deals a day. And now, how many deals a day?
I think we're doing like 420, 430 right now. And then in holiday, it'll get up to like 600 a day. And the last 3 days, so at any given time, there's 1,300 deals on the site. And it's a lot to manage for sure, which, to Ryan's credit, building the infrastructure and all of the technology to manage all of that. I remember when we were doing 2 to 4 deals a day, it was very easy for us to email sellers and them email us back pictures and descriptions, and we would manually input all of the information the day before. And it was very time consuming. It was very manual, but we started to scale by hiring more and more employees to do that. And I remember when we got to doing about 50 deals a day, it was like, this is crazy. Like every night we were staying up late, and it was fun, but at the same time, like that was the point where we're like, we need to invest in building a technology where our sellers can have this portal, they can submit deals, where we can then gather all this data and have a calendar and start scheduling out, because before we were just using like Google Calendar and Excel. And so Ryan and his team built this entire seller portal that we've been using for the past 4 years now, and it's been really enabled us to scale, and it's been a lifesaver for our sellers as well, because it's took a lot of just the back and forth to empowering them to just very quickly and easily input deal submissions and deal ideas and stuff. So that's how we really started scaling, was by building our own in-house technology, and everything that our entire platform, all of our apps and sites, it's all in-house, homegrown.
And for these sellers, I've looked at a number of the sellers. I can imagine this is a big book of business for them.
For some of them, yeah. And what's been awesome is seeing as we've grown up, and we've as Jane grows, our sellers, some of them, we were their very first deal ever, and now they're, they have 30 employees, and they, are selling on other channels, and it's just been really awesome and rewarding to see those, partnerships evolve. But yeah, we have a lot of sellers who Jane is their primary channel, and it's, for me and Ryan, it's a big responsibility, not only when we think about the Jane family, internally with employees and making sure that we're supporting 170 people and families, but with our sellers as well. We have 2,200 active sellers, and a lot of our sellers we know very well, and we want them to feel that partnership and that support as well. With our business model, we don't take any of the inventory. It's very low risk for us on that end, and so we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident selling on Jane, because they're the ones that are putting those dollars into actual product, and it's in their warehouse, and if they don't push it, then that's something that they have to worry about, and we want to help them as much as possible. So it's a really unique dynamic, and it's been really fulfilling and awesome.
Yeah. So transitioning into CEO, when you got the call, or did you know that was coming? Was that kind of it was going to eventually happen?
No. But
surprise.
it wasn't like I got a call, but we just discussed over the holidays. We discussed that as an option, and but yeah, 2 or 3 months before that, no, like I never thought that. And sometimes I still think like,
this is your life now, JD.
Yeah.
Was there any aversion for you, or was it, I know this company, I know, let's do this?
None. Yeah. And I can speak for Ryan as well. Like, of course, like we'll do anything for like, you know, this is, I consider like Jane my baby, you know, and I don't know. I think a lot of people do at Chain, and especially what's awesome is that we have like great employee retention, and a lot of people have been here for many years, and you know, they're fully bought in. And I don't know, of course, like when that option came up, you know, the possibility of, hey, when Mike was talking to me and Ryan, like, I want you guys to be co-CEO. It's like, of course we will, you know, we'll do anything for Jane.
Yeah. Now, in terms of evaluating each new setup, I would think it'd be interesting. You'd have some good advice for those maybe jumping to a new company, but how do you evaluate like the next role and going into that? Like, am I going to be successful?
Oh, sure. I don't know. I mean, I maybe am drawn to that, like unknown, the like, I don't know.
Thrive in the unknown.
Yeah,
let's
like,
just figure it out.
That's part of the excitement of it, of why not? And let's see what happens. Like, I don't know, when you're surrounded by people that you trust and that you work well with, like, it takes a lot of the risk and fear out of making decisions. And especially when you have like, you know, people backing you, like family and friends that are confident in you, like, why not? I don't know. I had no reservations. But yeah, when you're evaluating something else, like, you know, when I was evaluating coming to Jane, that exact same mindset of trusted Mike, and why not, you know, like, what's the worst that can happen? And there's a lot of opportunity here, especially in Utah County and Salt Lake County, of there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of smart individuals that teaming up together, they could make whatever they want. And it almost seems like there's a lot of low risk. And so you might as well try it, you know?
So maybe, I mean, I guess part of that would be definitely align yourself with some like-minded individuals that you trust. But the rest is, from what I hear from you, it's figure-outable.
It
on
is.
The ground.
Yeah, and I that probably takes a certain mindset. But I mean, thinking of friends that I have who are very risk averse, and that's fine. And I wouldn't want to necessarily, not saying Jane is risky, but in building a business, you know, you want people who have that entrepreneurial mindset. Not everybody has that, and that's okay. You know, that's totally fine. But it does take that entrepreneurial, like, startup mindset, and that's something where we have 170 employees right now, and I still feel like Jane's a startup. Like, it still feels startup-ish. It still feels like, and me and Marcus, our marketing director, talk about this, where when I first did our AdWords campaign, I used one of those $100 coupons, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to stretch as much those dollars as far as possible, and we still do. Like, when we test out, you know, Snapchat ads or, you know, promoter pins or whatever, like, if it's a $50 campaign or if it's a $50,000 campaign, like, we have to treat them equal, you know, like, it's that whole startup mindset where we don't look at it like we have huge budgets and like, let's just like blow money. It's like, let's stretch these dollars and let's make it work and let's be creative. And I feel like that's really gotten Jane to where it is right now, just that mentality and that mindset. And we don't want to lose that. And that's something that as CEO, me and Ryan both, we just want to make sure like that culture and that drive like stays as we go to 300 employees. Like, and it's possible, I know it is, but it takes effort and it takes being very intentional of who we hire and how we manage and how we hold people accountable. And I don't know, just making sure that we stay startup-ish.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked with a number of CEOs and they said, you know, keeping that startup mentality, being intentional, being mindful of every dollar spent, it gets harder the more people that you onboard, because there's naturally like a sprawl in terms of the tensionality of like, well, you know, we have bigger budgets than we've ever had. So $1,000 here, $1,000 here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we need to dial it back to when you had $100 coupon.
Yep.
And you wanted to make it work for your business.
Yep, totally. Yeah, it's a certain mindset. And on the marketing side, having somebody, at the top that has that mindset, but also making sure that we're hiring people that think like that and that have done their own thing. When you like are moonlighting, like starting your own website and you have to fund something yourself, you think about money differently than, if you just, all right, we have $20,000, we need to spend it. How can we? It's totally different. So
yeah, spend it or I'll lose it kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of failure, I like to ask the question of, how do you turn this idea of failure, and it can be a little demoralizing, into, like, how do you press through that? Because it's a natural part of business, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thinking back to maybe hires that we were super stoked about and, promising that didn't work out, like, in retrospect, we just have to make sure that we're learning from those mistakes. There's always going to be failures in campaigns and, lots of areas of our businesses, and just making sure that we don't repeat them and that we're very honest with ourselves of what happened and taking ownership into how we could have improved, certain situations or scenarios, and just, being self-aware and I guess vulnerable to recognizing when we need to change, ourselves. And so, I don't know, that's a constant thing. I think we're always going to have failures in our businesses.
Yeah, I think people, we naturally want to avoid those.
Absolutely. And for marketing, like, we look at those when it comes to testing out new campaigns, new verticals, new channels. Like, we're all about it, knowing full well we could fail, but in retrospect, like, what can we learn from it? Because it could be a huge success. If we're not willing to take those risks, like, how would we know? And that's okay to have failures. Like, that's part of evolving. And I think that, part of a good strategy is trying new things, and you're not going to win every time. That's okay. But planning for failures, in a sense but knowing how to, like, learn from them and use that information to make better successes later on.
That makes sense. I know whole teams that their perspective is like, what can we break today?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just go into that with that mindset. So it's just not daunting. And obviously they insulate against, repeating those mistakes. But the idea is, like, let's power through the mistakes that we might ultimately make anyway and just, like, be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Love it. Now, in terms of, I guess this last question that I ask everyone is, what do you hope to be remembered for, that legacy?
Me personally, at Jane.
Yes.
The thing I care about most is that our employees are happy at Jane. Mm-hmm. Like, I try to be very positive, and I just want people to love being there. And so hopefully they see that I love being there and that I love Jane. But really, that's where my mind instinct goes, is how can we make Jane the best place for you? And, if you're in the wrong seat, if there's issues, if we need, like, I want people to know that I truly care. And they felt like JD cared about them,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I would hope.
And that is so present just in the first time I met you and you walking us around and introducing us to people. Is this, like, unassuming, like, just human factor that you had with every single person. You were like this proud Papa Bear, just, like, introducing me to almost everyone on your team. And it was just, like, so natural.
Thank you. I am proud of everybody. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, for sitting down and taking the time. This has been really, really fun.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.